folks in, but a few people may be joining us as we start. So welcome to our education and training teacher rollout. I'm Selena Mills, and I've been working with our career pathways projects. And then I also want to introduce Candace Vincent, who you probably also know, who's your education and training consultant. So she's going to be weighing in at several points throughout this project, because today's project is a little bit different than the previous rollouts that we've had. So we want to explain some of those differences for you. But today, our main goal is to really look at the changes that have taken place between Perkins 4 and Perkins 5, and to help you understand what those changes are and the shifts that we're going to make in Michigan. And then in addition to that, we want to talk some vocabulary, because some of that has changed as well. So we want to make sure that you understand the vocabulary terms that we're going to be using so that we can all speak the same language. And then we'll be talking some of the details that you're really interested in. What credentials have been identified as part of this project? And then what are some of those new curriculum documents that you're going to be getting? And you should have gotten a Know Before You Go packet with a couple of links to some PDF documents that will be important. We have some screenshots of those today, but we know that some of those are pretty tiny. And so you should be able to pull up a full PDF of those and be able to enlarge that so that you can really see them and read them. And in the future, those documents will be coming to our website in an Excel format so that you can really see and interact with those. So they're just going through some formatting at the moment. In addition to that, we know that there's probably a lot of questions today. So we want to give you a moment to pause and ask questions as we go through several sections of the workshop. But if you're anything like me, I get a question and then it's burning in my mind and I can't focus until I get it out. So if that's the case, go ahead and use the chat and put your questions there. And then when we pause, we'll go to the chat and look for those questions first. And then in addition to that, we'll take the questions that we've gotten from today and create an FAQ document for you so that you can go back and look at the questions that were asked and the answers. And then if more roll in between now and the start of the school year, we'll be able to add to it for you. So with that, I want to dive in and talk a little bit of history. And I'm going to move my chat here for just a minute so that I can see that in case you throw anything in there. So let's talk about how this change all got started and kind of the big picture of that shift from Perkins 4 to Perkins 5. So a couple of years ago, our legislators made that change from Perkins 4 and reauthorized it, and it became Perkins 5. And with that change, they made some language and terminology changes, and they tweaked some of that a little bit for us so that we were kind of pushing on the rigor of Perkins 4 and making more improvements to our programs for Perkins 5. So one of the big changes for us was a shift in our core performance indicator for program quality. So we used to have standards aligned to assessments, and those end of course assessments counted as our core performance indicator. It used to be 2S1, now it's 5S1. The option to use technical skill assessments went away. And instead, the federal government gave us some options to pick from. So we moved to credentials, and we'll explain that move a little bit in a minute. And then with that, they also changed some terminology and they started talking in terms of courses. And in Michigan, we didn't have courses, we had segments. And so you'll see that shift as well. And then finally, one of the things that was a big important piece of the move to Perkins 5 that we'll talk about later is the move for more rigorous credit agreements. So in Perkins 4, we had articulation agreements, and now we're pushing on that and trying to create more rigorous credit agreements for students so we can really give them a competitive advantage when they move on to post-secondary education. And here on your screen, you'll see the timeline. So we started all of this work a couple of years ago when it was reauthorized. From that, Michigan had to create a state plan, and that had to go through an approval process. Once we got approval, we were in what's called a transition year. And all of these things started occurring right around the time that the pandemic started. So you can see that we're moving into year 2, and it feels like we're really just getting some of this work rolled out and started. So we had a little bit of a delay, but we do have a timeline that we have to meet for the federal government. So that's why we're here and moving forward. I also, though, want to acknowledge that I know that this is a lot of change in a period of time or in a year that has been a tremendously tough year for you. There's probably not a worse time to ask for change from a group of folks who are already bogged down with so many things that you have to do. So we really appreciate your patience and understanding and your willingness to dive in with us and do this. And we want you to know that we're going to be here to support you along the way. So with that, let's talk about that change to our core performance indicator. We had the choice between a few different things, and the state pulled together an accountability subcommittee to talk about the pros and cons of each of those indicator options. And we had to do this work with our post-secondary partners. So what we picked as secondary was the same thing that post-secondary was picking. So that accountability subcommittee got together, we weighed the options, and we decided that post-secondary recognized credentials was the accountability measure that we wanted to use in Michigan. And a post-secondary recognized credential is one of those 5 things that you see on your screen. It could be an educational degree or certificate, which makes a lot of sense for our post-secondary partners. But it can also be an industry recognized credential or certification, a license, or the completion of an apprenticeship. So some of those things made sense for both of us. And one of the reasons that we chose this was because not only did it work well for secondary and post-secondary, but it also worked really well with the rest of the goals that our state had. So post-secondary recognized credentials aligned very nicely with the governor's 60 by 30 initiative. And it also aligned nicely, as you can see, with some of those top 10 strategic plan goals that we have for Michigan. So it was all of us working together as one forward movement. And we weren't alone. Every state had to go through this process, and 22 states, or 43% of us, chose post-secondary recognized credentials as our core performance indicator. Now, on that screen with the 5 different options for core performance indicators, one of those at the top was an industry recognized credential. So I want to take just a minute to make sure we're all on the same page about what that means. An industry recognized credential is a credential that's recognized obviously by our employers in industry, but it's highly valued by them. It's something that they either require or prefer or like to see when they're hiring. And a lot of times what it does is it validates a set of skills that someone has when they're entering the workforce. And oftentimes that validation occurs across states. So it may be that that credential is portable across states, or at the very least, there's some sort of reciprocity agreement between our state and others. Now in this process, we're also identifying something called supplemental credentials. And we're going to talk about these a little bit when we talk about credentials specific to education and training. But a supplemental credential is a credential that's recognized by employers, but it's not specific to one industry, like the industry recognized credential. So these are credentials that are portable across different industries or clusters. So for example, first aid and CPR, highly valued in education, highly valued in healthcare, also highly valued in construction. So those are supplemental credentials. And they're things that employers identified as being important, but they didn't necessarily touch the occupation in the same way. So in this process, we identified 7 different zip codes that were starting the work. 5 of them were grant recipients, and then 2 of them were parallel projects. And you all are one of those parallel projects. So I'm going to let Candace take just a minute and talk about why this project started now, because she has a little bit of input. There was a reason behind running these parallel projects at the same time.
Hi, everyone. I just put a starburst in my mouth thinking I was safe from talking. So the reason why education is moving forward at this time is partially due to our new MDE grade banding system. And for those of you that aren't aware of the grade banding system, the grade banding system is replacing our current teacher certification system. So there will be a birth to kindergarten grade band, there will be a PK3, a 3 to 6, a 5 to 9, and then a 9 through 12. There will also be a PK through 12 for certain areas. And so because of that grade banding system, it gave us a little bit of flexibility in what we could move forward with in terms of credentialing. And so the Michigan Department of Education received a federal technical assistance grant. It is a 5-year grant, and we are working with a group called CC Network Region 8. The Region 8 team encompasses multiple states. So while they're assisting us in our work, that work may be farmed out to other states, and actually it is being farmed out to other states. So with that work, what we have done essentially is partnered with the Office of Career Tech, with the Office of Great Start, and the Office of Educator Excellence. So this means our teacher certification partners within the Department of Ed, our early childhood and our child care, our out of school time partners are all a part of this project. And we are working with multiple agencies. We have a very, very large stakeholder group. This is the second year of a 5-year grant for this work. So while we are implementing now and rolling out now with Career Tech, there's a lot more work to be done behind the scenes by our technical assistants and our stakeholder teams regarding the credentials that have been selected, our CTE programs, and also some other pathways such as assisting with paraprofessionals, with substitute teaching, with dual enrollment, early middle college, and trying to leverage credentials in a different way than what they've been used to in the past in education. So it's very exciting, very cumbersome. It's like we're building multiple rockets while we are being launched into space and we don't have all the parts. So every once in a while we have a little gap in what we can tell you and what we can help you with, but that's simply because this is actually our year 2 of this giant federal grant. Does that help, Selena, today?
That's perfect. Thank you,
Okay.
Candace. I know that with this being a parallel project and it being such a big partnership, it was important for all of you to have some of that background knowledge, because this does look just a little bit different than the other 5 grant projects that we've rolled out. So with that, there are still some pieces that are very much the same as part of those grant projects. So with our grantees that we're going through this process in these 7 zip codes, this is the flow chart that we gave them and talked them through. So their job was to identify the standards that we have, which are not going away, and then to identify credentials that were valued by employers. From there, they created competencies, which are larger groups or larger sets of, I don't want to say standards, but larger sets of performance elements that students will be able to demonstrate. And then they grouped those together to create courses. Now, as part of this project, the parallel teams will still be working through academic credit alignments and programs of study and post-secondary agreements, but they are doing those things in a slightly different order than what some of our other grant projects have done. But for today, we're still focusing on the same things that we focused on with our other grant projects. So we're going to look at those current standards that were in place. We're going to talk about the credentials that were identified, the competencies that were developed, and then the courses that are coming. So I want to pause for just a minute and make sure that you have a chance to ask questions about the project. So if you've got any, throw those in the chat or feel free to speak up and we'll help you answer those. All right, I don't see any yet, but Dorothy is throwing some resources in the chat for you. So go ahead and snag any of that information that will be helpful. So let's talk about the things that you really want to know. Let's look at credential identification. Now, as part of this process, I mentioned earlier that there were some supplemental credentials that came up. And I know that those came up in this pathway as well. So there are some recommended supplemental credentials that across projects were identified by employers as being important. There are things like CPR and first aid and OSHA. And while those are very important, they're considered supplemental because they aren't occupation specific. So if a program is offering some of these supplemental credentials, we recommend that you keep offering them. And we recommend that students tell employers that they've earned them and they celebrate those awards. But for purposes of our Perkins Program Quality Indicator, those things don't meet that criteria. So in order for a credential to meet that criteria, first, it had to be required or preferred by an employer to hire. And then it had to lead to a living wage for students, or it had to be a step on the career ladder that led to an entry-level position and a living wage. And then finally, we did an alignment with the standards, and those credentials had to meet a multitude of standards within the pathway and the program in order to count for that credential. So these are the credentials that have been identified so far in the process. And I'm going to turn this back over to Candace again so that she can talk you through what each of these credentials are.
Alrighty. So with education and training, there are technically three credentials here. It is the CDA, which is the Child Development Associate, and that can be infant, toddler, or the preschool CDA. And I've had a lot of questions on why this is, or when it was childcare went away and we were told we couldn't do the CDA anymore. That's correct. Childcare went away. That was SIP 190700. Child Development Associate, because of the new birth to kindergarten grade band, can be offered under education again. And so there is actually a huge national push to put more CDAs into the hands of high school students. So the National Council for Professional Recognition, who is the governing body for the CDA, they actually just last month had a rollout for high school CDA and CTE programs. So the infant, toddler, or the preschool CDA. One thing to note about the CDA is this is a national level credential. It is recognized across state boundaries. It's even recognized in some other countries. In fact, in quite a few other countries. The CDA is used in childcare. It is also used in early childhood education. And I do want to make that there is a distinction between those two. Early childhood education falls under 13.0000 in a SIP code, and it aligns to a different SOC code than our childcare does. So that is why the CDA can come back, because now it connects directly to an education pathway. The Michigan Youth Development Associate is a brand new credential. Okay, so this is for out of school time programs. It works similar to how the CDA works in an early childhood program. The MyYDA is mirrored after the CDA, so they have very similar competency areas and very similar requirements. Half of the hours that are necessary for the MyYDA in work-based learning can be earned during the school day. The other half of the hours have to be earned in out-of-school time programs. There's a lot of flexibility in what out-of-school time programs means. So that could mean school-age childcare. It also could mean coaching. It could mean summer camps. It could mean a lot of what we're currently using our ESSER funds for in summer programming. So students can assist there. I think of myself, I was a lifeguard all through high school, and I taught Learn to Swim. That's out of school time programming. So out of school time programming is anything that doesn't happen during the school day. It can be through a Boys and Girls Club. It can be through a YMCA. So it doesn't have to necessarily be through the public school that you work at. So those are our two credentials. They are both a pretty hefty lift. They require a lot of hours. However, we've kind of devised a really great system on how you can have your students put together portfolios based on the credential or based on the competencies. And then the students that make it, and the students that don't have quite a bit completed. And they'll be able to pick up either one of these credentials after graduation. So it's not something where if they don't get it by the time they graduate, they're just out of luck and all that work was for nothing. It's something that they can carry with them through the My Registry system. So hopefully I explained that well on the CDA and how now it connects to education, whereas it didn't even 2 years ago. Until the Birth to Kindergarten was approved, we couldn't quite get that linkage that we needed, but now we have it. I'm good.
Thank you. So what if there's a credential that you think should be there that's not currently on the list? You have a couple of options, but what if you think of something else? If your credential that you think should be there isn't on the list, there will be a process to add credentials to any of these programs in the future. So be looking late this summer and early this fall for what's called an enhancement grant, in which you can take the competency work that we're going to share with you in just a little bit and align a new credential to that and add additional options. So with that, I know that there's a couple of questions already in the chat, and I'm sure there might be a few more. So Candace is probably going to be the best person to answer these questions that I see in the chat. So Candace, there's a question about students working toward the preschool CDA. They're looking for the types of clearances that will be needed for students, that there might be a licensing clearance that's needed. And is this something that's possible for students under the age of 18?
So I'm trying to get a clear answer out of Robin Zeider. I don't know if Robin's on the call right now, but she's our CDA expert on our team. But I did just send her an email, so hopefully she sees it. Kids under 18 can absolutely earn the CDA, provided they are a part of an approved CTE program. So the CTE, in many of our CTE areas, that relaxes some of the requirements that normally are placed within an occupation. And for the CDA and the MyYDA, one of the relaxing pieces is that if a student is in a state-approved CTE program, they can earn these credentials at the age of 17. But I want to get Robin's seal of approval on the type of clearance that's needed before I answer that fully. And then I see the other one is how many out-of-school hours are required for the MyYDA. Both credentials have a requirement of 120 hours of instructional time. That can be instructional time with their teacher. It can be professional development events. It can be modules that are completed through the My Registry. So there's a lot of wiggle room on what counts as instructional time. And then there are 480 hours of work-based learning. For our CDA, that has to be in early childhood settings. We're trying to get some clarification from the council on if it can be more than one early childhood setting. For the MyYDA, half can be earned during regular school time placements, any placements working with kids. The other half can be in any placements working in out of school time. Paid, unpaid, does not matter. Recommended portfolio plan. There is a recommended portfolio plan for each credential. So we will eventually run some sort of training to help you work your students towards a portfolio. But for those of you who were previously having your students do portfolios based off of segments, and I don't know how many of you were, but if you were doing a segment-based portfolio, you would simply do a competency-based portfolio here, and then you would look at the performance criteria for each credential and have your students check off. There are check-off lists for both credentials of what students should have in their portfolio. So that should make things very easy for you. And I don't know if she's on the call, but thank Kathy Hengesbaugh for a lot of that work, because even though she retired, she stayed on and worked for free this year, piloting both of these credentials and putting together materials for all of you to use moving forward with your students. So Kathy's just amazing, and I owe her so much. And that's all I got for questions so far.
All right. And one other thing that we should mention is that coming to the website will be some tip sheets around each of these credentials. So when you go in and you're interested in a credential that you might not be offering, you can go to our CTE instructional programs page, click on the career cluster that fits your question area. And then once you click on that, so in this case, the education cluster, you'll get into all of the different documents that will accompany the program, including some tip sheets. And when you click on those tip sheets, it will give you links to those credentialing agencies so that you can get more information. So from there, we want to talk about this big change from standards to competencies. And to do that, we need to make sure that we're using the same vocabulary and that we have the same understanding of those terms. So in general, a competency is when a student in school terms is proficient. If we were an employer, we'd see someone who is competent as someone who's able to do the job. But the formal definition for competencies are explicit, measurable outcomes that lets us know what a student not only knows and understands, but what they're able to do. So in CTE, we tend to have a very good understanding of what competency means, because oftentimes that's a large part of our program. We have that knowledge and foundation piece, and then we have the performance elements. So we're very comfortable with some of this transition already. Now, when we talk about a competency-based system, a lot of times we think about grading, and grading is a part of that. But I want to really use this illustration of building a house to kind of talk about the difference between our traditional system and a competency-based system. So in a traditional system, we work a lot based on time. And again, in CTE, we're really good at thinking competency-based. But if you think about a traditional system and you think about that system of time, it would be the equivalent of putting a timetable on the steps of building a house. So if we were to design and build a house and we told our mason that we needed him to come in and lay the foundation, and we said, you got 3 weeks. And in 3 weeks, if he wasn't done, we'd say, well, sorry, my carpenter's coming in and we're building the first floor. And then we'd keep going. And the problem with that, obviously, is that if the mason's not done, the foundation isn't well laid. And so then when we build the first floor and then the second floor and we put the roof on, eventually something's going to crumble because we didn't assure that the foundation was solid. So in a competency-based system, if the mason needs more than 3 weeks or needs a little extra support or some more resources, then we come in and help that mason to make sure that the foundation is firm before we build the first floor. And sometimes that means that we're differentiating the experiences for students or the supports and resources that students have so that they get what they need. And it also might mean that sometimes, in some cases, we end up with a 2-story house. And in other cases, we only have a 1-story house, but in both cases, they're solid. So when we think about those grading practices, which we know we have to have, the other thing that usually is a dilemma for us in education is that we speak in terms of grades, but our partners don't always use those same terms. So for example, if you look at the 5 students on your screen, they all have a final letter grade of a C. And that might mean something to us as educators, but our post-secondary partners and our employer and industry partners don't necessarily know what goes into that letter grade. So if we look at Oscar, for example, on the bottom of your screen, Oscar's got D's and F's on all of his tests. That might mean that he hasn't mastered the material yet or mastered some of those performance tasks that are part of our program. However, Oscar's a really amazing kid. He's hardworking. He shows up on time. He goes above and beyond. He's what every employer would like to see. So when we tell our employers and our post-secondary partners that Oscar has a C, they don't know that he hasn't met all of the performance elements. And so that's where a competency-based system comes in. We know that grades are still going to be an important part of what you do, but by introducing credentials into that picture, it really helps us to speak the same language as our post-secondary partners and our employers, because a credential really validates a set of competencies. So if we were to say that Oscar had earned this particular credential, everyone would know exactly what Oscar would be able to do. So when we worked through this process to identify competencies, we started with our standards and with the gap analysis document. And I want to reassure you that those standards are not going away. So they are still here. They built the foundation for the rest of the system that we're going to show you today. And because they're the foundation of our system, we think it's important that you understand what that system looks like. So in the gap analysis document, you had 4 different sets of standards that came from 4 different sources. The technical standards that were in your gap analysis document came from usually a national association or an agency, a credential, or a licensing body. And you'll see some examples on your screen. Then we had cluster and pathway standards, and those standards are assigned specifically to a zip code. So there are 16 clusters in the nation, and education and training was assigned to a cluster. And then there are 79 different pathways underneath those clusters. And again, they were assigned a specific pathway. And those 2 types of standards are a lot more broad and general than our technical standards because they're designed to encompass multiple occupations within that cluster or pathway. And then finally, we had career ready practices. And those career ready practices were, again, developed by a group of states in an initiative to really look at what students needed to be able to do to be employable. So they developed 12 career ready practices. And then in Michigan, as part of this project, we worked with our CCDA group, and they took those 12 practices and created 4 competencies with some performance indicators underneath. So again, we pulled all of this from your gap analysis document, and you'll see if you look at this example, and it's actually a health example here, but education and training look the same. At the top, you can see here the standard source. That told you where we got those standards from. And in some cases, it even named the type of standard for you. And then they were all color coded. So if you're cruising through the gap, you can see by color which set of standards those are. And then as this group started to work, they took a really close look at these areas over on the left, and they were able to determine, is this a knowledge area or an area that students need some foundational understanding, or is this more of a skill or performance measure for our students? So the process to create competencies looked a little bit like this. We asked the groups to go in and think about the big ideas that come out of a program. So when your student leaves an education and training program, what are the big things that they need to know? And then from there, they looked at those big ideas and they looked back at the gap analysis document, and they started taking some of those content standards that were that foundational knowledge and putting them in. And then from there, they built on that second area, those performance indicators, and said, well, how are we going to know that a student knows or understands this material? What are they going to show us? And so for those of you in education and training, I know that you're probably very familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, but this really is kind of the hierarchy that they used to look at some of those standards, which sometimes were all mixed up in our gap analysis document. So again, things at that knowledge and comprehension level really were our content standards and the foundational knowledge. From there, the performance indicators that we're going to show you are the things that students could actually do. And then up towards the top were those big overarching ideas, things that either encompassed multiple content areas or that students could do in multiple different ways and show you multiple times. So we're going to show you this one more way to try to help this make sense. On your left, you see the 4 standard areas that we pulled from. From there, the group sometimes took standards that were alike or kind of the same and grouped them together and linked them to a competency. So for all of you in education and training, here's an example. This on the far right is one of your competencies, establishing a safe and healthy learning environment. From there, the technical standard that is recognizing and establishing a respectful environment could be part of that competency. And then you can also see the cluster and pathway standards and a career ready practice. And again, this is just an example of the type of thing that was done as we started to plan. So all of these statements that you saw came right from your gap analysis document. So just to reiterate, those standards are still there and they'll still be in your new documents for you to be able to use should you need them. And then the group looked at the 2 credentials that were recommended and they aligned those competencies to those credentials. So this is where you're able to differentiate for students. Students taking the CDA or the MyYDA can both show you that they have met and mastered that competency, but they might do it in 2 slightly different ways or using 2 different types of performance. So again, it looks a lot like this. We took standards from those 4 areas, grouped them together into like or naturally sticky groups, created a competency that summarized all of those different standards. And then from there, aligned that competency to multiple credentials so that students can show you in different ways and earn different things at the end that all lead back to that competency. So this is the list of competencies and competency areas that you have for your program. And you should have a copy of this in your Know Before You Go documents. Now, I don't know, Candace, if you want to jump in at this point and mention anything about these, or if you want to wait until we get to the PCCs to talk through these.
No, it's okay. Essentially, when we sat down to try to put together competency statements, originally what we had determined was that we should simply take a blend of the competency statement language that was on the CDA and on the MyYDA. But as I started to kind of merge that language and work with both of those, it was really evident to me that we probably needed to look at one more source, and that was the actual grade bands from MDE and what their competency statements are. So as you look at this list, some of the competency statements have a little star next to them, and that means that it's a competency statement that is fully aligned with the new grade banding system. And part of the reason why we wanted to have that there with the grade banding system in our document is because that's going to help us with creating post-secondary agreements as we move forward. So I'm working with a couple different universities on trying to put together a solid credit agreement for the MyYDA, and they wanted to see that alignment between our program and what they are having to do with their post-secondary. And that makes perfect sense because in any other CTE area, take law enforcement, that's one of my areas, you know, our teachers are teaching MCOLs or MCOLs because that's what a law enforcement officer needs to know. So we want to align as closely as possible with the actual industry that we represent in secondary CTE. So I would say the majority of these competency statements align with the grade banding system. And for the few that don't, it's a blend of language from the CDA and the MyYDA.
Thank you. So you have this in your Know Before You Go documents. You may have to blow that up a little bit to be able to see it well so that we wanted to fit it all on one page for you. But you do have a copy of this so that you can start looking those over and ask if you have additional questions. So with that, I do want to pause and check our chat and find out if there are any questions that you have now that you've been able to kind of see what that process was and to take a quick look at those new competencies.
Lena, we do have one, and that's if a student is interested in early childhood, are they still allowed to take our careers and ed courses and work in the elementary schools? So the answer to that is if they are working towards their CDA, then they need to be placed in early childhood. So that's where their placement would need to be for the CDA. Otherwise, they would be working towards a MyYDA credential. So it's not so much about the classroom instruction as it is what the student is doing in their work-based learning. Where are they placed? What evidence are they collecting at work-based learning that they've met the competencies? The competencies are the same whether they're interested in early childhood or high school. Same competencies across the board, same standards across the board, but does your student demonstrate that they know what a choking hazard for an infant is? If so, they're going to put that in their CDA portfolio. Do they demonstrate what to do in the case of, say, an active shooter situation in a high school? If so, that's going into their MyYDA portfolio.
And Candace, can you address, what about students who are not interested?
Well, if they're in your classes, they should be interested in either early childhood or in school age. That's a part of their IDP. So we really shouldn't have students that are taking the class that aren't interested in education. Am I not understanding that?
No, I meant if they're not interested in the early childhood part of it, like they want upper L, like
Then-
5th grade, you know what I mean? Like, and they're not interested in the early childhood stuff.
Then they would work on the MyYDA.
Okay.
The MyYDA aligns to PK-12. The CDA aligns to birth to kindergarten.
Okay. Thank you.
And I have a question too. I could follow up to Patricia. It's Elaine.
Go ahead.
So I know that the MyYDA though, like those hours, sorry, my daughter's playing piano in the background. The MyYDA hours are after school programs. So not like necessarily teaching based. So I'm just wondering, for most of us who are going to be sending our kids out to placements during the school day, where does that leave them?
So they're still going to go to placements during the school day. Half of the hours come from during the school day. So it's not like you would say, oh, well, you're working on your YDA, so you're just going to sit in my classroom for this 90 minutes with me. They're going to go work in a classroom too, and that time counts towards their YDA.
Okay, awesome.
And then
Okay.
if I can jump in for just a minute too, all of you you reminded me of something that I know may occur in some of your programs. So when we were asking those questions or answering those questions about, what if they do or don't want a certain thing, there is always the possibility that students will enter your program and decide partway through that that isn't the career field for them. And in that case, it's still valuable, and Candace can probably weigh in on this as well, but it's still valuable for them to complete some of those components, because there's a really nice crossover between some of the things that students might do and demonstrate in one of those credentials that they could use in a portfolio in other areas. So I would still highly encourage them to continue doing that. And that might help as an instructor when you run into someone who has discovered maybe it's not the career for them.
And I will say, as somebody who taught in this program, if I had $1 for every kid that told me I'm not going to be a teacher now because I took this class, and then called me after graduation for a reference for a job in childcare or out of school time, I would not have to work in the Department of Ed anymore. But I would do it because I love my job. One more question here is, which would you suggest if they're interested in social work or school psychology? I would lean towards the MyYDA if that's their interest focus, because it's going to afford them a broader range of experiences. But I also would really double check, because there are a lot of positions right now surrounding infant mental health. So if early childhood would be their focus, that maybe they're looking at, well, for a bachelor's degree, I want my bachelor's to be in child development, then I would steer them towards the CDA. I don't think you can go wrong either way. It's what you're teaching them in the classroom that's going to align nicely with the social work or psychology piece. But yeah, I'd kind of gauge that student a little bit, because it could be different depending on the kid. And then we've got CDA has a handbook and curriculum that teachers can view ahead of time to plan for their students. Does MyYDA have anything in the works that we can print off, purchase, or view online? That is on our summer task list. So, just like everybody else, we're dealing with some COVID related things. And so we're kind of prioritizing, like, which fire do we put out first, kind of thing. And so with putting together a handbook for YDA, we are essentially modeling a handbook for the YDA after what the handbook for the CDA was. It just made a lot more sense to let National Council do the work, and then we can do the additional work rather than reinventing things. And then we have another question on, is there anything wrong with offering both? No. And so coming from having taught that, what I would say in Candace Vinson's perfect world is that you would teach all of your students and differentiate to what their career goals are. So if Bobby really wants to work in middle school, I'm going to steer Bobby towards the MyYDA, and I'm going to put him in his middle school placement. But if I get that, you know how you always get that random student who says, well, I don't want to be a teacher. I want to run an in-home daycare. Okay, kiddo, you're going for the CDA, because you know what? If they get that CDA, they can turn around and do the one for in-home in like no time at all. And boom, they're ready to go for a true in-home. So I would say everything across the board. And there's another question: what if students are not interested in the after-school programs? That's true. They might not be interested in after-school programs, but we do not have a credential for teaching that students can earn. So Michigan does not have a credential for substitute teaching. 60 credits and a pulse is all we're looking for there. And then we don't have a credential for parapros. Did you graduate from high school and take a work keys test? You're in. So because we have such small requirements for letting adults into our classrooms, we don't have anything we can align teaching to. So when thinking of after school programs, I would remind students very much that there is probably not one teacher that they could ever find who hasn't worked in after school time to some capacity. I'd be shocked if everybody that has taught would say, I've never worked in out of school time, because it is something that is so wide that we stay after school to tutor, we stay after school to do all sorts of things. And what do you do when you're the only adult in the building? Because that's the scary part of out of school time. What do you do when you come back from the track team at 11 o'clock at night and Johnny's mom didn't pick him up? Now we're just sitting in the parking lot staring at each other. Should I let him in my car? I don't know. This is weird. I can't get a hold of my principal either. Yay. So that's kind of some of the fun of the after school day. Are we working on a parapro credential? No. The state of Michigan right now has laws on the sitting in for being prepped. There are some of our legislators who want to let people with associate's degrees teach. They would like to let anybody with a high school diploma be a sub. So we're not going to ever see a credential placed on parapros in our state because of how wide the shortage is. Now, that being said, there is some work on the credential potentially being a pathway for paras to pick up easily to maybe allow them to sub. So there's been some talk around that. If we can leverage the credential, that maybe we can get some laws put on the books that say this might allow a para to sub, or it might be enough of a credit agreement for a paraprofessional that it moves them into the teaching profession. So we're looking at a variety of pathways, but the parapro piece really isn't ours. For students unsure about a grade band that they want to pursue, how flexible are the MyYDA hours? Very flexible. Would the hours from placement for a third grade classroom still be applicable? Yeah, they would. So with MyYDA, it's PK to 12. Any PK 12, doesn't matter. You could vary the experiences. They just have to log their hours. If your district requires a certain certification, can we use that as an alternate? No. These are the two credentials or the three credentials that are approved. And I'd be curious to know what that certification is.
Well, like Selena was saying that there was an opportunity for if there was another certification, right, Selena?
Yeah, and then in that case, you would look at the enhancement grant and apply for that. If you're interested in thinking about that, I would go to our website and on our main OCTE page, and I think we can probably link this here for you. The enhancement grant information isn't there yet, but I would start looking at what's called Form A under the Pathways Grant header, and that's a credential checklist. So that will tell you right away if the credential that you're thinking of might meet some of the criteria for Perkins 5. And then also look for a flow chart. And I believe it's not posted yet, but there's a placeholder for it because it's coming soon. And that has some of the other criteria.
But I know that like there are some districts that do require the work keys to become a parapro.
So the problem with that, Elaine, with work keys, the work keys are a required test for every student to take in their junior year. It's a requirement. So that's not a credential, that's a test.
So even required to be a parapro in a district.
It's just a test. Anybody can do it.
Okay.
So it doesn't, there's nothing that this class does to set them apart to do better on the work keys.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
it's the same with ETS Parapro. We've had a lot of questions on that. It's a test. It's not an assess. It's not a credential.
Got you.
And it doesn't cross. Yeah.
I guess I'm just curious, Selena, what would some other alternates be? I'm curious, like Candace, like if there was an alternate.
Yeah, Candace is your person for this. And I don't know, in some of these cases, we're not sure what those things may be, but we know that there could still be other things out there. So we want to leave that door open for folks to do some investigation. So again, I would go back to look for, it's called Form A, and then eventually a flow chart, and that will give you the criteria for Perkins 5. In the case of that work keys and some of those other credentials, it might be something that still is valuable for a student to highlight on their resume, or it may be something that's seen as more supplemental. But in any case, for our students, the more things that they can add to that resume and to their list of experiences and knowledge that they can bring, even if it doesn't count for Perkins 5, if it's something that you're doing that there's value in, make sure they highlight those things. It can only make them better prepared and more competitive.
And so there's two more things. Somebody said about the MHSAA coaching certification. Coaching athletics is not the same thing as teaching. And so for that, if somebody really wanted to do that lift, they would have to take it through the grant process. But I would really caution someone before taking that lift that they look at that criteria and see if it's something that does transcend and that they have post-secondary buy-in. Because for 2 years now, we've been working with post-secondary partners to try to create credit agreements on these credentials that are national, and it's been pulling teeth. If somebody's willing to do that work with the post-secondaries, more power to them. I just don't see how, after reviewing that it can fit the criteria of we need it for promotion or we need it for hiring. And that anybody's going to jump on that particular credential for an alignment to substitute teaching or to leverage parapros over to the teaching profession. If somebody else wants to do that work, again, they're welcome to apply for that grant. In the event that a student earns a supplemental credential such as first aid CPR, should we at least record that, and should we put first aid and CPR? The recording question I'm going to let you take, Selena. Should we push CPR or first aid for our kids in the program? So there is actually some new legislation right now that MDE may end up dropping the first aid CPR requirement for our student teachers to enter and get their initial teaching certificate. And the mindset behind that is that first aid and CPR is probably better served by having the districts actually put their teachers through that training upon hiring, rather than it being something that the colleges are doing. And so I think it looks pretty probable that that's going to go into place within the next few years. So first aid and CPR, I'm an instructor. I think it's very valuable. I have done first aid or CPR on someone who had a heart attack. So I would never say don't do it. But I will also say don't bend over backwards trying to do it, because odds are your student will have to retake that later on anyway. Oh, we got a bunch more questions coming in, Selena. Do you want me to take them? Do they record that on supplementals?
Yeah, let me tackle that. There's a couple of ways to do that. You will have a supplemental list still in CEDIS to record those supplementals. So I think that's still important, because ultimately what it does for us as a state is allows us to say, wow, look at how many students are getting credentials, whether they're for Perkins 5 or not. Like, look at our numbers and look at what we're doing that makes Michigan competitive. So I think that's helpful. The other piece of that is we're going to come out with some guidance, and I don't believe it's been out to you yet, but Michelle Cordano or Dorothy, if you are on and you have clarity around that, you can clarify. Otherwise, we'll get this information out to you. But we are going to provide clarity around how to record or when or if you can record credentials that were earned outside the time that that student is in a CTE program. So there'll be some guidance on if they earn something before or after, can that count or doesn't it? So be watching for that to come your way. So did that kind of answer, Rosa, what your question was?
Yeah.
Yes, it did. I had to scroll. All right. So let me see the rest of these questions here. And Candace, you might be on top of these. So I think they're more about credentials. So do you want to go ahead?
Yes. So conversation around first aid and CPR. I'll be honest, you guys, I did not know first aid and CPR was a requirement of either one of those credentials, but I trust you all. If you're saying it is, then it is. I'm not the credential expert. I'm the CTE expert on our team. So what I would advise though, to save yourself some time and energy is to go with the easiest possible route. So you might want to bring in somebody from American Heart for that. I'm a Red Cross instructor and that's very difficult to get done. Red Cross takes a lot more time. So I would just go with the path of least resistance, moving kids to a first aid CPR cert. And I think I got it. There will be checklists for both of the credentials. Those are coming. Do we have dates on implementation? Selena, do you want to cover that one?
Yes, that is coming up. So why don't I move us into the next section and be watching for that? And then if I don't answer your implementation question, make sure that you pipe up and ask again. So we want to introduce you to those education and training PCCs or Perkins courses so that you have an idea now that we've kind of talked about the credential, about how this all fits and how this potentially could change your instructional design or how it changes the way that you report the instructional design that you're currently offering. So, we talked about those competencies being a collection of standards, and creating a big idea. But from there, we have to take those big ideas or those competencies and also put those together to create a course. And again, the legislators mentioned Perkins courses and Michigan was using segments. So we had to make a change. So when we did this grant work, we talked to our grantees and our parallel project folks and said, as you design groups of competencies into courses for reporting purposes, we want you to kind of keep some general things in mind. So we asked them to look at courses that were approximately the same amount of time. Now, this is the guidance on your screen that we gave them. You do not have to limit yourself to 80 hours for a course. But when our groups were working on developing these courses, or what we're calling a PCC, a cluster of Perkins course competencies, we wanted them to create things that were as close to the same amount of time as possible to make it easier for you to deliver and easier for you to schedule. So we didn't want them to create one group of PCCs that were 50 hours long and another that were 200. So when you look at the PCCs that you're going to have, think of them in approximately the same amount of time chunks. And again, they took those big ideas of those competencies and they put them together into a group. And you're going to see sometimes where some of those things overlap a little bit, like these corners of our star. And that's normal because in our programs, it was really a broad overview of a cluster that our program was designed for. So there's a lot of things that overlap and that touch each other. So with that, I know that this is a little bit small. This is a shortened version of the full document that you probably have in your Know Before You Go packet. And if you couldn't find that, because sometimes it goes to your junk mail, it is in the chat. I think Dorothy sent that there for us. So this is a shortened version. It's kind of condensed so it fits on our screen. And you'll see off on the left-hand side are some codes. So previously, when you put your local courses into CEDIS, you used a segment number. And now we're going to use competency codes. So you'll be recording by competency what's in your course or what you plan to deliver in your course. So these are those codes. And then you'll see that PCC code. So there are 5 PCCs for education and training. From there, and again, I had to shorten this so that you could see it all on one screen. So we're going to show you in a little bit more depth and allow Candace to talk through those. But from there, you're going to see the competency areas, and these mirror those competency areas that you saw on that competency slide. And then you'll see how this crosses with the CDA, the MyYDA, and then with our previous segments. So with that, Candace, I'm going to move forward one screen, if that's all right, so that you can start breaking this down, and you'll just have to tell me when to keep moving slides.
Okay. Actually, Selena, stay on this one for just a second.
Okay.
So on the next slide, you're going to see a breakdown plus one more column of each colored area. And I am like a color code person, so that's why you get my fun colors here. When we put together our courses, our PCC, we grouped them in a way that we thought made the most sense if you were delivering instruction at a comprehensive high school. So that's how we did that. So anybody who's not in an hour at a comprehensive high school, don't look at these as classes, okay? If you're in an hour in a comprehensive, we might have just done you a big solid here. But if you're in a 2-hour career center, we're going to have to play with instructional design a little bit, okay? But just looking at the overview here, we put together kind of a logical sequence of how we felt this course is taught. Health, safety, and wellness, if students are going out to the field, they must have health and safety training first. I cannot reiterate this enough. I have found many programs over all of my areas that will put kids out into work-based learning without having them take health and safety training. You cannot do that, okay? So don't do it. So health, safety, and wellness would be an obvious, this is where I'm starting off my class. Now there's one exception to that. Many of you teach a standalone child development course. I know I did, and I marketed it to 9th and 10th graders. If you teach a standalone child development, even if you're a family consumer science teacher, roll it into your education program. It does no harm, stick it under education, okay? And that could maybe be your first. So you would start a program with either the purple or the blue, okay? Either one works. Now, of course, you can start it wherever you want, but this is just, we're going with the most logical case. Go ahead, Selena, to the next one. So health, safety, and wellness was hands down the easiest one to align because we simply took the existing segment and the standards in it, and we aligned those standards to the CDA and the MyYDA. The categories line up perfectly. The assignments you're going to give your students in that particular competency are going to be almost exactly the same, no matter where they're going to their placement. So that's it was a beautiful alignment. Then we move into ethics and professional growth. Again, in this area, kind of lined up perfectly. We already had the competency areas from the credentials. We already had the segment area from Perkins 4. The only thing I would say here is on this very first competency area, and I'm keeping an eye on the time here because I know I like to talk. It says demonstrates knowledge and critically analyzes various ethical professional codes of conduct in education, including but not limited to Michigan State Board of Education Code of Ethics. So that was new last year, I think. Might have been this year. The years are blurring together at this point. But there is a new code of ethics. It's very long. You can find it on our MDE page. And then, of course, educating students on FERPA. However, a student that is working on the CDA is going to need to know the NAEYC ethics. And a student that's working on their YDA is going to need to know the out of school time or after school ethics code. And so we will provide you with links to those so you have them, and we will provide you with some level of training too. Those are kind of like the easy low hanging fruit type things. And then we go into cultural competency. This one is a little bit of a newbie, but realistically the standards are all there. You were already doing it. You were just doing it a little differently than how we're asking you to group your competencies here. But diverse learners from our previous segments goes to the cultural competency piece of the YDA. And then there are multiple areas of the CDA that align here, which is why you don't see it in this box. Down the other column, you'll see the core teaching practices. If you don't have a copy of the core teaching practices, next time Selena talks, I'll give you a copy of that. But essentially, Oakland University asked us to align everything that we could to core teaching, because that is what our students in college programs have to know. They have to know the core teaching practices. And so what you'll see is at the beginning of the program, when students are learning more in your classroom than they're learning in field, they're going to have a lot more competency statements and a lot less core teaching practices. And when we get towards the end, you're going to see less competency statements and more core teaching practices, because it's kind of a natural transition that we do with our students from begin with observing and then work your way up to you're teaching the class. Go ahead, Selena. Am I explaining this the way you want me to?
Absolutely, it looks
okay,
good.
Okay, I'm like, you can just nod, I can see everybody. Okay, so this green class here, we grouped together 3 things. So the first competency area just got renamed to strategic partnership. It was family and community engagement. So for those of you that were on my teacher team, this was a last minute decision to align with the grade band terminology. We are thinking it will just make it easier for our students who move forward into teaching programs. So strategic partnerships, we're looking at partnerships with community, partnerships with family, and partnerships too with the rest of the staff members. So who is the school nurse? Who is the lunch lady? How do you make sure that you keep the secretary and the custodian on your good side? That's all that good stuff that we talk to kids about and we teach them about, and we make them research various positions like school psychologists, and we make them look for community resources, but they didn't have a spot before under our segment. And family engagement right now, I don't know if y'all know this, but nationally, this is a very hot button topic. And I'm on the core team for MDE for this. So there's like 5 of us that are working on all the family engagement strategies for the state. And it is my passion. So I'm excited that the CDA and the YDA already had strategic partnerships in there. Again, the grade banding system has a really nice strategic partnership. So that's where that came from. Special POPs and diverse learners really just comes from our segment. What's really interesting is that neither one of the credentials had a competency specifically for this. They took their competency statements and rolled them under other areas, but that's okay. It's still stuff that you were already teaching that we already had standards for. And again, where do you teach this? It could be different for anybody. Program development, that looks different between the 2 credentials. This is probably the biggest area of difference between the 2 credentials. Program development for a CDA student is really going to look at how are you going to be the lead teacher in an early childhood program and run it and bill parents and deal with all that fiscal stuff. And out of school time, it's going to talk, you'll kind of follow those same lines. But for a student who doesn't have interest in either one of those areas, we would be looking at things like, yeah, how do you keep good records? How do you get your grades done on time? So that's a lot of our trends and structures. It was our previous history of education stuff. And then under the CDA and the MyYDA, there is very clear-cut criteria for those credentials under these areas. Go ahead, Selena. Then we have our child development piece. And again, this could be a standalone before kids ever entered your true teaching program. The reason I lump it here into C is simply because you do want them to have some work-based learning, so they've got to have some health and safety training. You could do a minimal amount of health and safety and still get students observations in various levels of working with students, and they would still get some work-based learning if you wanted to grow that route. But essentially, we've got 3 competencies for social emotional, and I would really recommend that you look at our CELs, our SELs, from MDE, because that's going to link in nicely with all of this. Physical growth and development looks a little different, but essentially we teach kids about the full scope of physical growth and development. I would never recommend that you don't teach them birth all the way up through adolescence. I think it's important for them to know, but what they do to demonstrate physical growth and development at their field placements will be different. because if you're working in a preschool room, now you're looking at, here's my manipulatives that I use. If you're working with, I don't know, teenagers, you might say, you know, here's how we take a brain break in the middle of a math lesson. So that's different. And then cognitive growth and development, and this is where you'll see all of your information on theorists, and of course, everything that we do to motivate learners. So again, none of this is different, it's just reorganized. You're not changing your instruction. Go ahead, Selena. Then we get into the nitty gritty of the program, and this is where you start to see more of those core teaching practices. And it's simply because this is now when kids are full blown in their field placement, where it gets very intensive. They're in there most days of the week. They are, you know, writing lessons. They're showing how they use transitions in class. Well, one of my words was cut off there. But they're showing, you know, scaffolding strategies that they might use, how they differentiate learning. Then we move into classroom management, and you'll see that there's a lot of standards there. And the reason for that is simply because classroom management previously was an area in our EPPs, our post-secondary programs for teacher ed, that it was lacking. So the state said, okay, wait a second. The high school kids get this really great unit on classroom management. The college kids are not getting that. Hold on, let's make some changes here. And so there's a really nice change put in there about norms and routines, and you can look at the grade band documents a little bit more to get more guidance in those areas. And then lesson planning is there at the bottom, and that kind of aligns across the board. It was just the classroom management piece was a little different. Okay, go ahead, Selena, the last one. And then that final course is looking at assessment, because realistically, when we think of assessment, that's probably the most complicated piece of the pie in the entire curriculum. So would be towards the end. The bulk of the work-based learning and clinical placement goes here. That doesn't mean that kids wouldn't have work-based learning and clinical placement across all the other courses. It just means if this is the final course, this is where we report it. And then career ready practices. So that is the interviewing skills. It is knowing how to communicate with your teachers effectively. And so that does just drop to the very end, because work-based learning and career ready practices are something that you would be teaching throughout and students would be doing throughout. It's the culminating piece. So that's where the competencies should get reported. Good, Selena?
All right, thank you. So we want to talk a little bit about how to structure this. And Candace talked about this earlier, and we're going to spend some more time on this as the school year gets ready to start. But in general, even though we've outlined these PCCs for you, you have some different options about how you use them in implementation. So you could take them exactly as they're written and kind of lift them verbatim and make them your local courses. And that's what this screen shows you. An example of if you took the PCC and lifted it exactly. And so just as an analogy for this, I'd like you to think about a driver's training course. If I'm a driver's training instructor, I might look at the courses or the material that I need to teach students and say, you know what? Traffic laws has been identified as a PCC. And I think that's really important. They have to have that foundational knowledge about traffic laws before we do anything else. So I'm teaching that first. And then, even though the second PCC is parking skills, I really think I need to move to the third one, that signs and pavement markings, because I think we need to know that before we go out and do parking. And so even though we've given you those PCCs, you, like Candace talked about, can move those things around to fit your needs. But that's not your only option. So you may also decide that you had an instructional design that you really liked that was working for you. There might be some feedback that you get from your post-secondary partners or your advisory committee members, or it might even have to do with resources and access to classroom and other placements that make you think, gosh, I really can't lift these PCCs just as they're written and deliver them that way in my local courses. And that's okay. You can use more of an integrated model. So think of this like our core academic folks. if you were lifting a PCC verbatim, it might be like teaching all of biology and then all of chemistry and then all of physics. But in an integrated model, you're picking some of those standards or competencies from each of those areas and putting them together. So integrated science 1 might be a little biology with a little bit of chemistry and a little bit of earth science thrown in that all fits together. So if I were a driver's training instructor and we go back to that analogy, it might look like this. I might think, you know what? I've only got a couple of vehicles to get students in, and I don't have enough time in segment 1 to get them all out on the road if I teach all of traffic laws first. So I need to get kids in cars quick. So what I'm going to do is teach the traffic laws that pertain to moving a vehicle and parking. And then I'm going to teach those signs and pavement markings. And then we're going to teach some parking skills. And that's going to be my first local course, because that way I can get kids out into the parking lot and moving around in vehicles and get them comfortable. And then in my next course, I'm going to go back to traffic laws and talk about the traffic laws associated with actually driving and moving down the road. And then those signs and pavement markings, and then some of those different driving skills. And that'll be my second course. And you have the option to do that too. So within our system, now instead of reporting by segment, you're going to report by competency. And I did see this question there in the chat, that you'll be reporting the actual competency code. So B1 or B2 or A6, and you'll identify which of those competencies are in your local course. And then the magic of CEDIS is that in the background, after you identify those things within your local courses and students are enrolled in and take those local courses, CEDIS will then put those things together and you'll see when the student actually has completed a full PCC. So before we move to more questions, I just want to quick address a couple of things because I know we're tight on time. So reporting. This fall, you're going to begin reporting by competency instead of by segment. And we know that that will be a shift for you. So we're going to be here to support you. And I want to show you in just a second some of the ways that we're going to do that. Now, credential-wise, if you're not currently offering one of the credentials on the list, you do have a little bit of time to be able to work towards implementation. So next year in fall of 21, those approved credentials will appear on the approved list in CEDIS. So when you go this year, if you haven't put your information in, they're not on that approved list yet. They won't appear until next year. But again, if you're not implementing those already, we know that that can take time. And it can take time to work a student through the competencies that they have to address and master before they get to the credential. So we'll be looking for you to report those competencies in 22-23. If you've got students getting them in 21-22, they'll be there so that you can acknowledge that and you can count those. And then I'm going to quick skip over this question slide just to talk about implementation, and then we'll go back to our questions in the chat because these things do kind of go together. So implementation wise, again, we realize that this is a phased in process and it all depends on where you're at in the process. So we do have this slide to give you some ideas about ways that you can do that. So if you are already offering the credential, you're likely in that row across the top. You're probably offering it, but what you're really going to need is some help transitioning either your instructional design documents or thinking about students who are maybe midway through your program, who you had reported under segments previously, and now you'll report under competencies. And again, we'll help you do that so that you don't lose their progress in our system. If you aren't teaching one of those credentials, then you fall in those other 4 rows below. And on the right-hand side, we gave you some ideas about things that you can do depending on where you're at to start creating a plan for the future. In general, what I'd really encourage you to do is after today, go back to your CTE administrator and some of those support personnel that you have and talk to them about where you're at in the process, what your thoughts are about those credentials, what concerns you have, what needs you have, and sit down together and have a couple of really good conversations about where you go from here. What do you need to do? What kind of support do you need? What kind of resources or funds might you need when you start to look at some of these things that are coming? And then again, together, create a plan for moving forward. Now, we want to be part of that support team too, because we know this is a big change, again, in probably one of the hardest years that you've ever had to teach. And so because we have to keep this moving, because it's a federal requirement, we want to be here to support you. So after today, we're going to give you those know before you go documents again, just in case you didn't pull them from the chat or in case they went to your junk mail. But we're also sending you 2 surveys. One will be about this professional development session itself, so that the next time we roll something out like this, we can make any positive changes that we need to make it even better. And then the other survey is a credential readiness survey. And we're asking you to fill this out so that we can help support you. Now, I don't want to forget to tell you that you need to know your CPID number and your region number. So before you fill this out, if you don't know those, just quick reach out to your administrator or someone else in your building and find out what those are. And what we're going to do is take the information from the survey, which is going to ask you, what kind of PD help do you need? What kind of resources can we provide? What kind of links and information do you need? And we're going to take this and look at all of you as education and training teachers in the state and say, wow, they all really need this. So how can we as a state department help provide that for you? And we're going to be setting up some more help sessions, some resources and making connections for you. Then in addition to that, we're going to be passing some information along to your region in case there are things regionally that they can do to support you in a better way than what we might be able to at a state level. So again, we're here to provide you support. We want to help you with this process. And so this survey will be critical for us to be able to give you the help that you need. And then we also know that you're probably going to have questions after today. You've spent about an hour and a half with us, but that's really not enough time to answer all of your questions, nor to answer the questions that we know are going to come up between the time we leave today and you really dig into those documents and the beginning of the school year. So we've set up 3 Q&A sessions, and you don't have to sign up for any or all 3. But if you have questions and you want a chance just to chat with Candace about some of these things, you can attend 1 or more of these sessions, and you'll go into a Zoom breakout room, and it'll just be free-flowing conversation and question and answer. So we'll be capturing, again, all of these questions that we get and putting them into a written document for you as well. But this is your chance to really ask the questions about your program and your needs and get some help. And then after that, we know that instructional design piece and how you begin to record those things is a need that everyone's going to have. So we're going to look at those things at the end of July and beginning of August. Again, 2 sessions. You don't have to sign up for both. They're going to be identical. We're going to bring you some resources to help you think through what you might want to do and to look at, if you're happy with your instructional design, how do you then report by competency and keep that the same? Or if you want to look at changes, what are different options that you have? So we picked those 2 dates because we knew end of the summer is a great time for a last minute vacation and we didn't want to catch you on vacation. So 2 different dates that you can choose. And then finally, there is a web address an email address that you can use to email us questions. So if you send any questions that you have to this MDE Career Pathways email, we'll take those, put them on the FAQ and answer them, get you an answer back, and then we'll use some of these questions that we know are common that we get again and again to kind of start off those Q&As. So we want to make sure that you get your needs met.